Hey everybody. So it's getting colder outside. Winter's certainly settling in. We're needing these sweaters a bit more. So now is an appropriate time to start talking about what snow days are going to look like in the Nekoosa School District. We hope we don't need anywhere as many as we did last year, but let's go ahead and make sure we're set on this before we need to act on it. So first thing, and the first policy we're going to look at, is when would we call a snow day? As a general rule, unless it's a massive blizzard that everybody sees coming, we are going to make the call of if the weather's too bad on the morning of a given day. Now, we understand that advance notice is helpful for the short-term planning of childcare, or whatever else may arise. However, in the long term, we've had several false alarms. In other words, the weather turned out being good enough on the day when it was canceled that it caused longer-term disruption that didn't have to happen. So we're going for the policy that if we're going to make a call, it's generally going to be the morning of. Now, in making that call, we're going to send out a Parent Square notification. Now, there's a robocall attachment to that. In other words, you'll still have your phone ring to notify you that, and you'll get a Parent Square through your notifications, so make sure those are up to date. Also, a couple things to be aware of is that we will also have this posted on the district website. This will be a place you can go ahead and check that out. And we'll also be posting notification to these local media outlets so you can check and double check, as you always do on a snow day, just to make sure you heard it right. All right, so now let's talk about what it looks like when we have to make up a snow day if that comes up to be the case. First thing to be aware of is that we already have built into our school district calendar 2 snow days already planned for, which means that if for the first 2 times we have to schedule school due to bad weather, we don't have to do anything further. The instructional hours are already taken care of, we're good. Now, if we get most years, that's fine. Most years we're good with that. However, if we get years like last year where we had quite a few more, that's when we want to start looking at what's our plan B going to be in those scenarios. So the plan that we have here is if we have additional snow days beyond that 2, that we would make those up as a virtual learning day on a scheduled in-service day. So it's not that so on the day that is canceled beyond that first 2, it's still going to be a snow day. Students won't have to do anything on that day. But we've learned over the last several forced years of remote learning that we have the best outcomes if students can plan in advance and teachers can plan in advance so that they know what they're doing, they're prepared for it, and everything's set instead of trying to convert everything in the drop of a hat. So if you take a look at this zoom in of our district calendar, those potential virtual learning days, if we get beyond the 2, would fall on February 9th, March 1st, April 19th, and that'll give us a fair amount of buffer. On an in-service day, teachers are learning. It's a full day learning for them. However, that would also make that's a learning day for the students. But that gives us some chance to be able to prep for it, so we're going to have the best outcomes there. So if we do have a virtual learning day on one of those in-service days, here's the policies and the guidelines that we'll be adhering to. So grades K through 5 will be sending home packets for completion in advance. So they won't be working with Chromebooks, even though we have a lot of our students one-to-one, that they'll be able to just work with packets and we'll know what those are and be able to get those in advance. In grades 6 through 12, it's more complex learning. Generally, we'll be using the Chromebooks that everybody has. And so those we'll have time to send those in advance. Their assignments will be posted on Schoology, and also our teachers will have reviewed those procedures of how to get to those also well in advance of the virtual learning day. So a couple things to also be aware of. Attendance is not taken on those days. But what will be taken is that any work, where applicable, is still going to be graded. Now, noting that work will be graded from grades 6 through 12. In the lower grades, it's not always applicable to throw the grades on. Talk with your teachers to get exact notification on where that falls. But note that give the most flexibility for families on virtual learning days, because those will be necessary. Any work that will be graded coming out of that, it's going to be possible to make those up for at least 2 weeks afterwards for full credit. So depending on how, we're still going to have the standard of the work needs to be done, but if your family needs some more flexibility on helping make that happen, we're going to have a 2-week buffer to make sure that takes place. And one final thing is that students are always going to have questions when new work is presented, or any work. And so we're making our teachers available for at least one designated office hour on those virtual learning days. The specific questions of what those hours are going to be, those will also be announced in advance. If you have questions, make sure you check with your particular school offices. All right, that's how we're approaching snow days. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to us. We want to make sure we're on the same page. We want to make sure that everyone knows where they're supposed to be before and what we're doing before something comes up. Now, also, if you have any specific questions, you're probably best served by reaching out to the building offices because things are a little bit different at each grade level and they can give you your most specific answers. But feel free to reach out to the district office too. We're glad to help. Thanks so much. Have a great day.